Hello and welcome to the daily study of the Way of Mastery. Today we continue with Lesson 1, The Way That Calls You Home. And we're going to skip ahead just a bit to paragraphs 15, 16, and 17. Hopefully we're not biting off more than we can chew, but they all kind of go together. So let's dive in and see how this goes. Jeshua says, "Indeed, beloved friends, I come forth to meet you wherever you are, because I have chosen to use the infinite power of consciousness given me of the Father, as equally as it is given to you, to discover how deep delight can be when the mind is focused only on seeing from and seeing only the mind of Christ. I have therefore called to myself all multitude of experiences, even when I walked upon your beloved earth as a man, to challenge myself, to test myself, to condition myself to rise above, to transcend all possible experiences that could distract me from the remembrance of who I am." Beautiful. Let's break it down. So he's saying, I've chosen to use the infinite power of consciousness that God gave me, just as God gave it to you. His message is always empowering. He's never saying, I'm special, I'm different, you're less than. He's like, we're brothers and sisters in God. We're all creations of the divine, the infinite power of consciousness. To discover the deep delight when the mind is focused only on seeing the mind of Christ. There is such delight when the mind chooses to see only the mind of Christ, which is the awareness of the divine in all things. And what a delight that is. And he says, therefore, I called to myself all kinds of experiences, even when I was on earth as a man, which is implying that he's called these other experiences when he is not on earth as a man, to challenge myself, to test myself, to condition myself to rise above, to see where I would get distracted. So he's like, hey, bring it on. Let's see if let me see, are there any situations, are there any thoughts and conditions that could distract me from remembering who I am as a sunbeam to the sun, as a child of the divine, as infinite powerful consciousness? Is there anything, any situations like bring on the tests I want to see? I want to try to almost distract myself. That's empowering. It makes it a lot more fun too. Like, bring on the tests. And then he says, by the way, my crucifixion was simply the climax of my own direct choice to be challenged by the events of space and time, so that I could cultivate within myself the ability to see from and to see only the perfect purity of the mind of Christ. This can be really challenging to our subconscious, to our programming about what the crucifixion was, what we've been told. And basically Jesus is, in essence, saying, like, I wasn't a victim there. Like, it was my own direct choice to have that challenge in my experience. I chose it because I wanted to cultivate, I wanted to grow within myself the ability to see from and see only the perfect purity of the mind of Christ. I only wanted to see the divine in all things, even in the crucifixion experience, even in the people that were playing a part in that experience. You know, the ego mind, the small self, is like, well, the victimizers, the oppressors, I can't see God in them. What are they doing? But he's saying, yeah, bring it on. It was my choice to be challenged by that, so that I could grow in that area and rise above, to just see the perfect purity of the mind of Christ. And then he goes on to say, the point I'm trying to make with you is that in each and every moment, what you are experiencing in the realm of your emotions and mind and the effects within the body are there because you, from your infinite freedom, have simply selected, and that word selected is in italics, you have simply selected that experience to focus your attention on so that you can see what the effects are. Again, each and every moment, your experience and your thoughts and your emotions and your body are there because you've selected them. And don't leave out this from your infinite freedom. He's always saying the infinite power of consciousness, your infinite freedom, that's our reality in truth. And so how empowering is that? And this, again, is so threatening and challenging to the ego, to the part of us that feels like a victim or separate or less than or lack, that we've simply selected the experience that we're having so that we could see what the effects are. So let's just look at why would anyone choose limitation? Well, maybe I selected to experience limitation so that I could then choose unlimitedness, limitlessness, to seeing that anything's possible. Maybe I chose to have the experience of not feeling like I'm seen or heard or valued. Maybe I have a job like that. Maybe I have family members that don't see and value and hear me. Maybe I have a romantic partner or a spouse that I don't feel seen, heard, and valued. Why would anyone choose that? To the ego, it doesn't make sense. To the thinking, rational mind, it doesn't make sense. But from this perspective that Jeshua is inviting us into, maybe we chose that. We selected that very experience to see what the effects are, to choose love in that, to choose that I'm worthy of, like, I can see myself. I can value myself, my Christ nature, myself, my true self. I am worthy of speaking my truth. Right? Maybe we chose addiction and the effects of addiction to then make the choice of self-love. Maybe we chose abuse to then choose the effects of forgiveness and knowing ourselves that no matter what happens to us or our body, it doesn't touch what we are. It can't change our divine, lovable, loving, loved nature. Maybe I've chosen depression. I've selected the experience of depression to then, as a test, to then choose purpose and to choose life. Maybe I chose struggle, like that life is hard, that there's obstacles everywhere, so that I could experience the choice of trust and faith. Right? So it's just a message of empowerment and freedom. And if we're willing to just entertain it, and if you're having a hard time, like if you're like, nope, and you get angry and you're getting closed off, like that's just information. And the question that I always, that like is so innocent is like, well, okay, fine. Let's play this game, Jeshua. I'll play your game in this world. I can see this experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone and that I went through or I'm going through right now. Let's play this game. If I did choose it, why? Like, what's one possible reason why I chose this? What is it here? How is it changing me? What is it here to teach me about love? What is it here to teach me about forgiveness? What is it here to teach me about self-love and abundance and freedom and setting boundaries and speaking my truth and valuing myself and wanting to be generous and prosperity? Like, if I did choose this thing, why? Why did I choose it? So this is such a practical teaching. You can just look at how this applies in your own life. And there's so much more. Like, this is the second or third page. There's a lot more coming, but hopefully you're getting value from this. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.